No audio. All right, guys, we're getting back into week 3 of back to school. Really exciting things. Hopefully, you guys have learned a lot. So we did week 1, 5 ways to find the clients. Last week, we touched on consultations, listing presentations, all of that good stuff on what to do when the client actually reaches out to you and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying and selling. So we just kind of walked through what that consultation or presentation will look like. And then this week, we're going to talk about, okay, they decided to hire you, which is actually like the hardest part of the entire transaction altogether is what do we actually do when we get a client and how do we keep them happy by giving them actual good service? And I think this is something that is really honestly lacking in our industry right now, especially here in Toronto. I know I've got some people from all over Canada right now, but Steve and I were just talking about some of the bad agents out there, and like it's a very simple thing to keep clients happy, but unfortunately it's something that I don't think people take seriously enough. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is how do we actually keep our clients happy through communication and services. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. If you guys have questions online, just shoot them in the chat and we will answer those. So action items from last week, we talked all about how to convert that client through the consultation. Did any of you guys practice with ChatGPT or anything like that? Susan did, right? Did you do verbal conversation or written? How was it? Yeah. So were you acting as the listing agent versus a seller? Yeah. So I think that was a good idea. We were talking about last week how sometimes when you guys get those accountability partners for script training and all that role playing, it's not always the best because someone's always sick, someone's not in the mood, and it can really ruin your vibe if you are actually motivated. So some of our agents were going on ChatGPT, talking to them, and basically having a conversation with a robot, but probably a realistic conversation. We also said maybe your goal was to book one consultation and use those scripts. Was anyone in this room able to do that? I know I've got like a smaller audience today. That's okay. So hopefully you guys got your buyer and seller guides ready because that was one of the tools that we used to convert those clients at the end of the day. I'm going to be referring back to it actually today, which is a really interesting thing that I found from reading that ninja selling book that I've been telling you guys about that I still highly recommend. But if you haven't already, go back and watch week 2 and see what that consultation is all about. I gave you guys a 1-page consultation for the sellers and buyers. And I think it's going to be a really good resource for you guys when you're now sitting in front of the clients. So we're going to start off with a quote. A happy client isn't just satisfied. They're inspired to tell everyone they know about you. So this is really important because I don't think a lot of agents really take in the importance of actually serving a client and keeping them happy because it is really hard to actually get a client. So when you get them, it's really important to actually make sure that they're actually having an exceptional service and keeping them happy because then once you keep them happy, this is what they're going to do is they're going to be more inspired to tell their friends, their family, and all of that about you. And in that first week, we talked all about the 5 best ways to find clients. And the number 1 way was through past clients and referrals. So if you guys are an experienced agent with me and you're not getting any referrals from your past clients, or you're finding out a past client is selling their house that you helped them buy with another agent, there's a high chance that they were not happy with your services, which is a really hard thing to swallow because we all think that we're doing really well. But your clients may not have been inspired to tell anyone about you. So word of mouth is really important in this business. And if you do want to get away from the prospecting, cold calling, and all of that stuff, I think it's really important that we actually take care of the current clients that we have because they're going to be your best prospect to actually get you more business and start talking about you and try to get you guys some more clients. So we're going to talk about how having a happy client is actually going to lead into growing your business. So actually I put week 2. Week 3, how to keep your clients happy by mastering communication and your services. So today we're going to be talking about very simple things. These are probably not rocket science. Again, these may be good reminders, but I also want you guys to start maybe taking this very simple system very seriously because it's actually going to make the biggest difference in your business when you're working with clients. So we're going to talk about communication plans, weekly check-ins, how to manage your clients' expectations, vendor referrals and value adds, doing updates during inactivity, and then how to get loyalty from the client experience. So why the client experience matters. So like I said, a happy client equals repeat business plus referrals. Now, I'm sure have you guys gone to like different businesses, like getting your hair done, your nails done, and then someone asks you about it and automatically you're happy with the service, so you recommend someone else go to them? It's the exact same thing in our business as well. So if you have an unhappy client, it could go the complete opposite, where they're going to tell everybody about that bad service and they're going to make sure that no one uses you. So we want to make sure that our happy clients are actually going to turn into that repeat business in the future. When they buy a house, we want to make sure that they sell a house with us. But we also want to see if we can try to tap into their business of friends and family as well and get referrals from them. But the only way we're going to get a referral, they don't care about your little cupcakes and all of that stuff, right? Like we talk about staying in touch with them through newsletters, pumpkin pies, all that good stuff's great. But if they weren't happy in that transaction with you, you're not going to get a client repeat from this. They're just going to they did the transaction and then they're just going to move on to another agent. So your brand reputation is actually going to be shaped by that client perception. So you could be selling as many houses in the world. You could be the best production person in Durham, in Toronto. But if your perception from the client is a negative one, it doesn't matter. And that's what's really going to help. So that word of mouth is super, super important. If you're not selling a lot of houses, but you're getting giving great service, that's when the production is going to go up. So some agents just think of each transaction very transactional based, and then they're starting the wheel all over again. But if you're giving your clients that great experience, there's a higher chance that they're going to give you referrals and they're going to be consistent. So they're going to be coming in. So we want to set yourself apart in that crowded industry, especially in Toronto. There's 70,000 of us. Clients can find a new agent anytime. So if they're unhappy with you, they will find another realtor, and that's what we want to try to avoid. And the expectations, I think, are getting worse. I actually do think that the people coming in through school are not learning the basics of customer service. And I think anyone that I've seen, if an agent had some sort of customer service job as their first job, maybe you worked in the restaurant industry, some sort of service industry, you would know that the client experience is very important. And us as realtors, it's the exact same thing. So we want to make sure that we're putting our customer service hats on when we're working with everybody. So again, I was reading, has anyone bought this book yet? Did anyone buy Ninja Selling? No, I keep promoting this because I think it's such a good book. So I was reading through this book and it was talking about the top 6 services that are very important to sellers and buyers today. And I actually thought it was pretty interesting. So that's why I kind of added it into the presentation today, because it might shock you a little bit. So the top 6 services that sellers find the most important, it's not if you're on social media and you're famous and you're viral and you're producing a lot of houses. They don't care about that stuff. What they do care about is having access to current, active, and sold data. This is really important. We used to be gatekeepers of the data, and that's kind of what kept people coming to us. Now your buyers and sellers can find the data anywhere. So they've got House Sigma, Zillow. There's lots of websites out there that will give them this data. So this is a really important thing for them. So we need to be sharing this information with them on a consistent basis. So we shouldn't be gatekeeping all this data anymore. And it is really important for them to know what's going on as a seller. The other thing I found, which was really interesting, is a seller's packet was actually really important to sellers. So they want to receive a guide from you that outlines the entire process of what it's going to take to sell their home. And we've been talking about these seller's guides, and I know a lot of people think these are just like little rinky-dink, like little guides that you shove in a little folder and call it a day. The sellers actually from the study really wanted to have a guide in place that outlined what you're going to do to sell their home, testimonials, resources, stuff like that. So this is really important to the sellers, and it was actually number 2 on the list. A pricing and marketing system with predictable results. So they want an agent that actually understands how to price a home and how to actually do marketing and actually has a system in place. So Claire was talking about at the Monday meeting, we need to be doing coming soon marketing, just listed marketing, just sold, like open houses. How are we doing open houses? Are we pricing based on what's going on in the market today? Are we underlisting properties knowing that bidding wars are not working, or are we pricing properties at what they're worth and selling them quicker? So this is a really important thing for sellers. They want to know that you're going to give them the results that they're looking for. They're also looking for proactive, competent realtors. So they don't want you to just stick a sign in the yard and say, okay, for sale, come over to me, then like call it a day and move on to the next. No, they want someone that's going to be calling the agents in the area, especially in a slow market right now, calling the agents that also have listings in the area. How's your showings going? Checking in on what properties sold, reaching out to their client database, their agent database, putting out marketing, and actually being proactive and trying to get a buyer for their property. This is really important to them, especially competent. They don't want someone that's shy and doesn't know what's happening. They want to know an agent that actually is knowing what's going on the street level to be able to sell their house. Smooth transaction. So they don't want the hiccups. They want everything to go smooth, stress-free. That's why they hired you. Otherwise, they would just do it themselves. And consistent communication, which we're going to dive into pretty heavily today. So if you can deliver on all 6 of these services, you're going to be creating great value in your clients' lives, and hopefully they're going to be happy. Found it really interesting that very similar services are important to the buyers today. So same thing with the current active and sold data, but they also really valued having some sort of buyer guide or something that they can hold on to that's going to guide them through that process. So that buyer's guide, if you haven't done that already, I would start to look into either, if you're with us, editing the one that we give you guys, or I was mentioning going on Etsy and trying to get your own buyer's guides, edit them, stuff like that. There's lots of resources out there for you guys to have a buyer's guide, a buyer's kit. We use these as lead magnets. You bring them to appointments. These are really important things to just get the conversation going. But they also found they want a process for finding the right home. So they want to know that you guys outline the process for them and that you have a smooth way of finding them a home, whether it's, okay, guys, we're going to set you up to receive automated showings. We're going to book the showings. We're going to get an offer in place. Then this is how the conditional period is going to go. We're going to book the 2 visits before closing. So they want to know that there's an actual process for buying a home. They don't want to feel chaotic. So you have to understand as well as yourself what that looks like to buy a home. You need to know what's happening in the background scenes so that your clients know that you know what's going on. And the same thing, they want proactive, they want smooth, and they want consistent communication. So all clients want the same stuff, and I don't think this is anything out of the ordinary. They're not looking for you to be the flashiest. They're not looking for an agent that sold the most homes. They're looking for someone that just knows what they're doing and can get them through the process and solve the problem that they're looking to do. So I think we kind of take this a little too much. We try to recreate the wheel. We try to make everything so complicated, but it's so easy. We just need to help them get through this process of buying and selling. All right, so my agents here, do you guys know, or even online, do you guys know what the #1 complaint is from clients? You guys can hear me online, right? It's just one person can't hear me? Okay, #1 complaint. Okay. Anyone else? I think we all know that. And I'm going to heavily go on this week, to be honest. But yes, the answer is poor communication is the problem. And not even poor communication. I mean, lack of communication more than anything. Someone that's not communicating at all. And us as brokers, if we ever get a client that's calling us at the office, like Nelson, Claire, Carly, myself, if a client ever gets to the level where they need to call the broker, it's because their agent is not answering. It's because no one's keeping them in the dark, or everything's in the dark. So the most complaints we ever get is because, oh, my agent isn't messaging me back, or an agent sent an offer to an agent and that agent didn't email them back saying received, and everything's just ghost, right? So poor communication is actually the #1 complaint that we are going to get. And I actually think that this is the easiest thing that we can solve, right? It's not that difficult to just pick up your phone, answer a hard question. But unfortunately, a lot of agents are very bad at communicating, whether they're too busy. I hate hearing when an agent says, I'm too busy, so I can't deal with it right now. I mean, I guess that's communication, but if you're ghosting your clients, that is a bad sign. Or if you're ghosting another agent, if they're doing it to you, you know exactly how it feels. And not even just in our industry. If you messaged a contractor, for example, and they ghosted you, or you're trying to get a hold of someone for a quote and they're not contacting you, you're going to move on to the next person, right? You're unhappy. So this is a very, very simple thing that we can be doing, is just by communicating with our clients. That's all we have to do, #1, to keep them happy. If your clients call you first during the transaction, you are failing. So if you've ever received that message, have you guys ever received like, hey, what are the next steps? Hopefully not. I'm sure everyone kind of gets it. You do get a little busy, but maybe after the house sells, they'll say, okay, what are the next steps? They don't know. They don't understand the process. So like if a buyer puts in an offer, they want to know what are the next steps after it's accepted. So they want to say, okay, great. Now you're going to deliver a deposit. here's what the instructions are, or just anything. But if your clients are saying, hey, what's going on with the transaction? Are there any updates? Did you get feedback from that showing last week? If you've got clients checking in with you, that means you're doing a really bad at communicating. So we need to avoid having our clients reach out to us and ensure that we're always being proactive and being the first person to reach out to them. So when your clients do have that consistent frequency of interaction, whether you're messaging them every day, every update, if you're messaging them all the time, email, calling, texting, the relationships are going to be built and those unpleasant confrontations are never going to happen, right? So even if the transaction's going wrong, maybe your sellers are not getting the price they want, maybe there's no showings, it's dead. If you are consistently communicating with them, they're not going to have those unpleasant conversations with you because you're going to be on top of it all of the time. So a lot of the time when we're getting these angry calls from clients, from agents, it's typically because they haven't heard from their agent. So don't go ghosting your clients, even if things are going bad. Maybe you want to avoid a hard conversation, a price drop conversation, deal's not going to go through, the conditions fell apart. We need to just communicate. We just need to give updates and let people know what's going on. Steve and I were just talking about this. Like all you have to do is have some sort of update, right? Like it doesn't have to be good news all the time, right? So we just have to be on top of them. If things are going wrong, they want to know that you're working on things behind the scenes. We want things to be very smooth as possible so that they're not calling us and being angry because you're not picking up the phone or your agents are not mad. So the way to do this is we're going to come up with some communication plans. So first of all, you need to establish what their preferred communication method is. And we talked about doing this in the consultation. And the reason it's really important is because we want to know how our clients want to be communicated with. Some want to be communicated by text message only. Some want to be emailed. Some want to be called. There's only really 3 methods of communication other than showing up to their door. But I assume you guys aren't just rolling up to their houses like that. Although I have seen agents go to their clients' houses when they want to have that price drop conversation, they'll go directly to the kitchen table, but that's very rare that we see. But in that consult, you want to ask them, do you prefer text? Do you prefer email? Do you prefer call? Do you want all 3 depending on what the situation is? Because me, if I prefer texting, but I've got a senior client that says, no, I actually prefer you to call me, I'm going to have to suck it up and call them. But if you prefer calling and your client prefers texting, don't call them. Do the text. They want to be texted. They may be doing something like this where they're in meetings all day, or they're a teacher, or they're a nurse, and they're not available to pick up a phone call. So by texting and emailing, that may be the best method because then they can respond on their time. But you're going to ask them what they prefer in that communication method because we want to keep them happy. Especially in today's market, we want to have a schedule. So if you guys are having listings right now, they're quiet, they're dead, you don't really have a lot of updates, maybe every Monday, I put in my calendar every single Monday to check in with all of our active clients. So every Monday, this is what happened on the weekend. Maybe it's just milestone based and you're only talking to them as things are happening, could be situational, but let your clients know upfront that, hey, you might not hear from me if nothing's going on. You'll hear from me every Monday, whether I have an update or not, or I'm going to message you as things go. So anytime a new update does come, you want to be in communication with your clients, or you can set that standard up front that you're just going to talk to them once a week. So make sure you guys are upfront about the communication so your clients aren't always like, hey, it's Friday, I haven't heard from you. But they know on Monday they're going to hear from you. So definitely get that set up front. And this is very easy stuff to do, guys. This is how you keep your clients happy is just by talking. Even the no update is still an update. So follow that rule. If you do not have an update, let them know. I don't have an update. Do not ghost your clients if there is no update because they're going to be really upset with you. So no update is still an update. If you're very disorganized in your communication, you can't keep track of all these clients because you guys are so busy and you have 1,800 clients at the same time, very rare, but you need some tools that help you stay organized. So we talked even about CRMs yesterday or 2 days ago at our Monday meeting a little bit. Having a CRM, especially with task reminders, is going to help you stay on top of it. So if you do have a client that says, hey, can you touch base with me on Friday? And maybe we've learned, Carly and I were talking to some people last week, we've learned that there is people out there that actually do not use a calendar or do not use reminders and they keep it in their brain. And that like boggled my mind. Is Ginny's laughing over here? Is that you? It boggles my mind how, and it's a true thing. I think our sister is very, Paige is the same way. She keeps it all in her brain and no notes. And like some people can act like that. To me, I need to have it on a calendar, in a task, on a sticky note, somewhere to remind me. And it's very simple reminders like that because you may forget. The week gets busy and then you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to check in with this client. So definitely put it into a calendar, put it in a time block. If you're doing Monday follow-ups, put it Monday, 10 a.m., follow up with past clients, and even just list out which clients you want to stay in touch with. So make sure you are actually reminding yourself to do these things. Simple things like email templates. So this was a hack that I learned actually from our deal admin a few years back, but you can actually set up templated emails. So if you're sending a very similar email, maybe you just onboarded a new client, you do a welcome email, maybe after an offer is accepted, you know the next steps, but you want to email it and you want to be like, okay, next steps, you're going to deliver the deposit. Then we're going to book the home inspection. Then we're going to send everything to the mortgage broker. Then we're going to firm up. After firming, there might be another email being, okay, we're firm. Next steps, you get 2 visits before closing. So if you have very similar emails, write it out once, set it as an email signature, and then this is on Gmail. I don't know about other email programs, but if you select the pen, you select the template, and then you send it out. So these are very simple tasks that you guys can keep yourselves organized with. This one I learned from Sanic, actually, if anyone went to our tech day. Shared docs on Google Drive. So what Sanic will do is he will actually have a Google Drive and he will have all of his clients on there. So the clients both have access to everything. So he has a Excel sheet where he tracks every house that they showed them, what the feedback was, what it sold for, just random notes about every single property. And then any documents that they sign all gets put onto the Google Drive. They're all in the same loop. They know what documents they have. And that is a communication system that he's put in place that I actually really liked. Is anyone doing that? Did you start doing it? You start doing it? Is it helping, right? Yes, your high-tech clients.
They know how many properties they saw,
Yep.
what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So especially for your like very detailed people, they love to be on an Excel sheet. They can edit it themselves too. So if you're doing bad at communicating or your clients are always asking you like for different things or you're doing a first-time home buyer, they're seeing like 10 properties on a weekend, it's really good to kind of have everything organized that they can all be in place. And then they're happy because they understand what's going on. They feel like you're very involved with the process. So these little tools keep everyone really happy.
Also,
Sanic will create it and just put their names. So he'll have like Bob and Sue. Yeah. Yeah, so he has an Excel sheet and then it'll be like address, price, what did it sell for? Did we hate it? Did we like it?
Yeah.
So whether they liked it or not, he's tracking it. And it's kind of nice if you're working with buyers and they're like, oh, like my agent did nothing. And you're like, I actually showed you 50 houses. So like he tracks them. What were you gonna say?
the other thing that he does good is he saves the photos in that same folder. So if you ever have to relist it again or they go to sell it,
Oh,
or if it's his listing, if you have to relist it
Yeah.
for lease or something, the photos are already.
that's really good. So keeping the photos of him. Yeah, Sanic did a training actually on it. It's probably on YouTube actually. It was a really good one. We did a tech day and he opened up his whole Google Drive, but we can probably do another session on it. Yeah, more tech. Yeah, so let's do some more tech days. That was a really good hack for my people that just want to keep everyone organized and on the same page. I think it's a really good one to keep everyone happy.
To a single client over the span of 3 years or something.
Yes.
Anytime husband, wife, somebody will say, we just saw 20. Wife will say, no, we saw 43.
Yeah, exactly. So you can prove how many houses you saw, right? So it's just a simple little thing, again, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, because the last thing we want, everyone wants a smooth process. They want to feel organized. So these little things just keep everything in play. Like I said, different methods of communication, calling, texting, and email. You may decide that each of these things have different ways. Like you would only call someone, I would say, for like important updates, for example. So if you've got a client that's in the middle of an offer, or you've got a buyer, you want to go over what the offer strategy is, a seller strategy. Typically, calling is for like those longer conversations that you're going to have. I would also say calling is for the things that you don't want in writing. So if you're making any guarantees to your client, stuff like that, you don't want everything in writing. I like texting and email because it's really important to have a paper trail of things that maybe you had a conversation with on your client. But there is certain times where calling is a more important method, especially for those deeper conversations. You're not going to call them and be like, hey, there's an appointment booked at 12 o'clock when they're already receiving a text about it. Like there's certain things we don't need to be calling about that is very easily textable, right? A lot of our clients are working, they're busy, they're parents, there's a lot going on. So if it's just a quick update, a check-in, those things can be texted, right? Unless they said, hey, I want you to call me for everything. We personally like to use WhatsApp. I know a lot of people use WhatsApp. If we ever have a husband, wife, or like a family or something like that, maybe the kids are helping the parents sell, we like to put them all into one group chat on WhatsApp. That way you guys are all on the same page throughout the whole process. Everyone's getting the updates. You can also send videos, photos. It's just a little bit more personal on there. If they don't use WhatsApp, obviously you can do a group text as well. But I think to get everyone on the same page, having some sort of group texting is really helpful. Email, this would be more for like your formal updates. So emailing them an offer, receiving an offer, any action items, market updates. Sometimes you get showing feedback on Broker Bay that you can just email over to them, or you can text them as well with the feedback. But each kind of platform has a different need. We have some clients that say only email us and they don't want to talk on the phone. So just kind of go based off of what their preference was, or just explain, hey, if I need to call you, I'm going to call you. Usually that means it's important. Maybe start by sending a text saying, hey, are you available in the next 10 minutes? I want to go over an offer with you. So don't just call out of the blue. I find it's nice when you send them a text, say, hey, can I call you in 10 minutes? And don't just say, can I call you in 10 minutes? Say, can I call you in 10 minutes about this? So that will kind of open the conversation, and then the client can decide, okay, yep, I actually have some open time at this time, or they may be a little busy with kids' soccer or whatever it is. But before you do like one long call, send a quick text and say, hey, are you available to talk about an offer right now? This one I learned from my dad, actually. Have a response time standard. So clients like quick responses, right? So do agents. We love when people respond fast. I've heard from like even my own friends having an agent that took 2 days to respond to a simple text or a simple email. That is going to make them angry, and that's why they're going to talk to another realtor, right? So make sure that you guys have your own response time. I would say ours is about 30 minutes or so. Anytime someone texts us, something like that. Claire's is like 15 minutes. I think that's your rule. Even Nelson has a quick response time. So I think in your brain you should have a response time standard. Don't make it 2 days, 24 hours. Be respectful. Respond right away.
The thing I'll say too is, hey, I got your email. I'll respond in full when I'm
Yes.
settled.
Actually, I was thinking that you might be with a client. Exactly. So you might be with a client and they're calling you. And I respond often, even to our own agents, when they're calling me out of the blue. I'll say, hey, I'm actually in a meeting right now. Can I answer anything on text? Because a lot of the time it's a textable question. So if you are with a client and you get a missed call from a client or an agent, just text them back. Say, hey, got your email, got your phone call. I will call you when I'm available. So even being open about being unavailable is a really great communication strategy that we use all the time. So if you guys do calls and we say we're in a meeting, there's a high chance I'm doing something like this. And I've had agents call us in the middle of a Monday meeting and we're like, guys, like, so if we're not picking up or calling right away, even letting your clients know, hey, if I take more than an hour, just know I'm probably doing something that I can't get access to. But being open and available is very important in this business. We'll go back to those weekly check-ins. I did learn this from Mike Ferry, I believe, when I went to my very first conference. He always said, have Mondays set up for a weekly check-in, especially in a slow market. When you guys are doing your updates, even if there's nothing new, these weekly updates are still really important. So when you are talking to your sellers and you're like, well, I have no update, well, hopefully you're doing stuff in the meantime. So let them know what things you're working on. Are you doing any did you post a reel on social media? How many views did it get? List or realtor track. That's another thing that you can go online to show your clients how many people went to the website, how many people are clicking on it. So just sending them even market reports, showing them how many people are viewing it. Did you do any door knocking? Did you do an open house? Did you send out flyers? Did you email your database? Did you let the agents know in the brokerage? Just tell them the things that you're doing. If you don't have anything, then just say there's no update. But hopefully, if you didn't do any of those activities, you can at least do, if there are showings, it's a great feedback call to like let them know, hey, what the buyers thought. So we should be doing feedback calls. Any market stats. So if you got a listing, send them and you don't have an update because there's no showings. Like even this morning, I sent one that just said, hey, here's all the houses that sold in Ajax this week. No, there's no context, just want to let you know. There is action, there's movement happening in the area. This is what all your neighbors sold for. This guy just popped up on the market. this guy changed the price. So like go back and like look at what's going on in the market. Those are really good updates as well to send to them. So even if you don't have nothing or don't have anything to update on them, I feel like just here alone, you should be able to give them an update. Even if you've got buyers, maybe they saw a property, maybe you saw that it sold, just sending them like, hey, that property that you looked at sold for this amount, whether they liked it or not. Just think of an excuse to reach out to them. I do think it's weird to be like, sorry guys, I have no update. That's the update. So if I genuinely have no update, I will typically go look at what's going on in the market, send them what's going on out there. Make an update. Yeah, like force yourself to have an update because there is, I think the market stats is the easiest one to have an update about if you have no update. So you can just bad updates are very important, right? So we do not want to avoid hard conversations. So if the neighbor sold for way less than what we thought, you just tell them. And so Steve and I were talking about this actually, just kind of keeping the emotion out of it all. It is what it is. And we were talking about price reductions on, it's a lot easier to ask for a price reduction if you're updating them on what's going on. So if you're like, hey, this condo sold $50,000 less than what we have on the market, leave it with them. Don't say, okay, I think we need to drop the price. Sometimes you kind of leave it with them, send them what happened, give them a couple days. They're going to come to you and be like, hey, I think we should drop the price. And I know you've heard it a lot, right? My clients lately have been deciding to drop the price without me even telling them to drop the price. And then they're not like, my realtor did nothing but say drop the price and that's what's going to sell. We know that's what's going to sell it. But if you keep presenting the facts to them, they're going to understand that it's not a you problem. And then they're going to just naturally be like, okay, I think we should drop the price. And I just had that recently actually with a condo. The condo building's going to be very upset with me because of probably what we sold it for. But my clients were happy. It's nowhere near what they wanted to sell it for, but they actually walked away pretty happy because they sold it. So so we don't have to promise these big results. And if we fail, don't give them an update. Give them an update. They'll realize what's going on. Voice notes is one way. I'm not a big voice note person, but I know there's a lot of voice note people out there. This one kind of kicked too. So your current active clients are your very best source of referrals. And I know we talk a lot about past clients, but when you have a current client, they're noticing everything about the buying and selling process. And if they're at like a family barbecue or they're out with their friends, their friend may also be like, oh, I'm actually thinking about buying a house. And if their friend is currently in the process, they'll be like, oh, I'm actually buying a house right now. My agent's great. Call them. And we get a lot of referrals from that very active client, especially with buyers and stuff like that. So you should be thinking that your next transaction is actually embedded in this current transaction. So whenever you guys are servicing a current client, make it good because they're going to be talking to their friends and family very actively during this process, especially sellers, buyers. They're talking to their parents, their sisters, their brothers, their friends. If they're stressed out trying to sell a house, they're probably talking about that process with them. So if you can try to keep everything very happy and smooth and all of that, there's a high chance that there might be someone in their network that's actually thinking about doing something, and they're going to send you hopefully a referral. So we just had that recently happen with a first-time home buyer, new girl going through a divorce. She bought her first condo. Then her best friend just happened to be thinking about selling or buying a house as well with her fiance. They'd already gone through they'd already watched her go through it, and then we got a phone call right after. So sometimes you will get a referral right away. So you need to think about the current transactions that you're doing, whether it works out or not. The person that you're currently working with is actually going to be your biggest referral partner right now. Have you guys had that happen before? Elia probably has. You've probably had it. Yeah. And so don't just think past clients from 5 years ago, really absorb into that process. This one's a big one as well, managing expectations. So typically the frustration from clients is coming from unmet expectations, not bad results. So like I said, don't promise them that you're going to get them $1 million on their property because then they're going to be frustrated when all of a sudden the house is not worth $1 million. They're going to be upset because that was the expectation. But if you don't give them that expectation and they get bad results, they're not usually mad about the bad result. They're mad about the expectations that you gave to them. They're also typically upset, not necessarily about the price, but what's happening in between. So that's why it's important to have those buyer and seller guides and the consultations to actually walk them through the process. But even certain things like timeline possibilities and delays. So whenever we're going into a closing day, the day before closing or even the week before closing, we will always tell our clients, listen, it might not go smooth. It's going to be stressful as hell. And we're very upfront. We let them know you're going to be stressed. It's not going to be easy. And when you tell them they're going to be stressed, they have the expectations already. They're not mad. So if you're like, okay, you may not close anywhere from 10 to 6 p.m., so do not book a moving truck. I think we'll all make that mistake once, but we will tell our clients, listen, if you're doing a closing on the same day, you may not get the funds until 6 p.m., so don't book a moving truck for 12 p.m. because this is what's going to happen. And have this stuff in writing, right? Let them know, let's see, competitive situations. So if we're in a market where, yeah, you're talking to a first-time home buyer on the consultation, say, hey, we're in a market where there's a lot of bidding wars. You're going to end up maybe competing against multiple offers. This is what it's going to look like. This is how we're going to get through it. Pricing shifts. You can say, hey, the prices have been dropping every single week. It goes lower and lower and lower. So I might say if there's no offers within 21 days or 21 showings, we may have another conversation. So always being upfront about what that next step is or what that next strategy is really important because then you've already prepared them for it versus saying, yep, your house is going to sell in a week. It's going to be great. We're going to sell for $1 million. And then when that doesn't happen, it's good. So it's almost better to give them bad news sometimes than all the good news. Same thing with red flags in a home. We've been in homes where we'll be like, hey, I don't think you should buy this house because it's on a main road. And they may be like, oh no, but I love the house, don't care. And then in 2 years, they'll be like, hate this house, it's on a main road. And you're like, I told you. Like, or if they walk into a house and there's no front closet, I will point things out to them. So always point things out when you're in a house on things that you think will become a problem for them. I remember Nelson, when I was buying my house, I fell in love with this Scarborough home that was fully renovated. It was beautiful, but it only had a bathroom on the upper level. And I was like, oh no, it only had a bathroom on the lower level. The shower was on the main level, but the bedrooms were upstairs. And I was like, nope, that's fine. I can work through that. It's worth it. And he's like, I'm not letting you buy this house. So I'm actually really glad he didn't because now when I have clients and I'm like, hey, there's no powder room on the main floor. So if grandma's coming by, she's going to have to go upstairs. So you have to like point out things to people so that they have expectations when they move in. They're not like, yeah, you did tell me that this was going to bother me and it does. So they end up happy because you point out things and then avoid situations. Same with like Oshawa. I think there's times when we've seen Oshawa houses are really nice and we'll say, okay, you can put an offer in it, but you have to drive around this neighborhood for an hour before you decide and then call me. So just letting people know what to expect if they buy something or when they're selling, it's going to help. You can also, as a bonus, send a what to expect guide or checklist for buyers and sellers, especially in a slow market. Nelson, do you remember that house you talked me out of with the bathroom on the main level? I was just talking about walking through the red flags of a home for your client. It may be a downfall for the client, but you're going to save them later. And they'll be very happy that you told them to stay away from certain houses. Even Carly and I just went to a listing presentation last week. And they fell in love with this home in Niagara. It was in the wine country, beautiful home. The agent said, I wouldn't buy this house. It's on a main road. And then that kind of caught them back. But now all they could do is brag about the agent because he told them not to buy a house on the main road. And they're thrilled that he told them not to do that. So even if you're pushing your clients away from homes, they're going to think that you're taking their best interest into case. They're going to be happy. And then they're going to tell everybody about it. So these are really great little tips that you guys can use. Vendor referrals and value adds. We talk about this all the time, that you guys should have a trusted list of like your guys. I got a guy, right? So your clients are going to be coming to you for a lot of things, even after the transaction. Or even before, they may be like, hey, I'm really stressed out about this house is disgusting. You'll be like, hey, here's my cleaner. You got your stagers, your inspectors, especially if you're working first-time homebuyers, they're not going to have any of these things. So when you're like, hey, I've got a inspector ready to go, I've got a handyman, you've got your lawyers, your lenders. We were even talking about lawyers just now. Giving your clients 3 options of lawyers right away. As soon as it firms up, pick a lawyer or pick your own kind of thing. But having like a list of resources also adds to that client experience because they feel like they're in good hands and they're well connected. So if you do not have a mover, you don't have cleaners, I would start networking. And these are also people that you can leverage trying to get business from as well because you're going to be giving their business to your clients. And hopefully in return, this is another B2B opportunity. Even going beyond real estate, and knowing what daycares are around, what schools are there, dog walkers. So knowing really what's going on in the neighborhood and how to connect them with people. These are other little things that whether they use these people or not, they're going to know that you're well connected. I have lots of even my own friends will reach out to me and say, Caitlin, who do you have as a handyman or who's your painter and all of that? And I quickly send them something right away. I'm not sitting there thinking about who I got. I'm not on Google looking it up. I have someone always at the tip of my tongue ready to pass it out. If you guys are in the brokerage, you know, we have that WhatsApp group specifically for this, where you guys are always in the group looking for different people that are going to satisfy your clients that typically a lot of you guys have used. So if you don't, and you're with the brokerage, go into the WhatsApp group and look for these people as well. This one I know Tom Story does this, and I think it's a really good, he's a Toronto agent. Every year he sends an actual one-page document with his trusted resources, and he uses this as his farming tool in condos downtown. And he'll say, hey, here's all my handymen, here's a list of them, and he probably calls all the businesses before he hands it out, but he gets some sort of printed thing. He mails it out to everyone in the condo buildings in Toronto of all of his list of people that he has, and he probably has something saying, he probably has a referral base probably with the guys he puts onto it. But if you guys can send out a value pack for your clients, I sometimes also think it's good for them to come to me just in case, or maybe don't leave out the contact information and just put the names of people so that you guys can have that conversation. This typically happens, but even before a client asks, if you guys are sitting in the house, especially with buyers, or if you're with sellers and they need to declutter the house and it's stressing them out, and you're just like, great, I have an organization company, here's their contact information. Here I have a painter, he's going to help paint the house. So like you guys may be suggesting advice for people, but if you have someone, it's going to take that whole load off of them because they know they've got someone to work with. Or if something goes on wrong with closing, maybe there's a leak, you're like, hey, here's my plumber, he's going to come. And even if you take part of that process where you're calling the person and connecting them, it just adds to that entire customer service, right? You're not just like, oh, sorry, your toilet flooded, good luck. Like you're trying to be proactive and helping them out. And this happens a lot after the sale as well. I still have people calling me for like roofers, stuff like that after they've purchased the home. Or if you're in a home and the inspection comes back and they say, actually, the roof is bad and it needs to be replaced now, all you say is, great, I've got a guy. Here's his contact. You can call him right away. So when you guys close, just call him and he'll come do it, or we'll get a quote before then. So just being on top of like having guys makes that whole process so much better for the clients. This is going to happen after the client experience. So like I was saying, people typically refer you to people who made them safe, feel supported, and feel seen. So after the closing happens, don't just sell the home and then never talk to them ever again, because you're having a really big missed opportunity. I think it was Peter that told us in the beginning of our career that said there's more business behind us than there is in front of us, which means anyone that's ever done business with you or you've worked with or you know, there's so much business back there behind you than there is with strangers completely in front of you. So what that means is you need to do a really good job at following up and building that loyalty over time. And it's just simple things like home anniversary cards, checking in, an annual portfolio review, where you're showing them what their house is worth every year. Who was talking about that this week? Doctors. I don't know. I was listening to something being like, it's kind of like going to the doctor or going to the dentist. Every 6 months, they're going to send you a reminder. Was it you? Go to the dentist every 6 months. You get a checkup every year with the dentist. It should be like real estate should be treated the exact same way, where we're sending them a portfolio of what their house is worth every year. It's like going to the doctors. So we are their professional. Housewarming gifts, personalized thank yous. These are just very simple ways to just build that loyalty. So don't let those relationships die right after closing. Try to make it a long-term one and stay in touch with these people. Add them to your CRM. You guys are getting their IDs, right, for FinTrack. So you got birthdays there. We've got all their closing dates. There's their house anniversary. And then just do some random check-ins and ask for referrals. Is anyone doing this? We're going to be talking a lot about this actually next week. And I just added this slide today because I feel like this is a week of terrible communication with realtors. So Carly's nodding her head. This is really important, guys. Even realtor to realtor, if an agent calls you, respond. If things are going down the shitter, things are going bad, don't just disappear, guys. You have to be involved with this, because as soon as you disappear, that's really bad look on you. That you could have had the best experience and all of a sudden one little oopsie happens on closing. It's really important that we start to collaborate with the other side and collaborate with each other. This is what makes the deals a lot smoother and better client outcomes. So you're going to be representing your client, the other agents representing theirs. Our job is to make it through closing. So even after an accepted offer, a lot can happen in that time. So we need to not fight each other. We can't ignore each other. You have to pick up the phone. If your client cannot close because their financing didn't go through, you are not protecting your client by ignoring the calls. We need to get on the calls with lenders. We need to get on the calls with the lawyers. We need to ask for extensions. We can figure these things out, but you have to be involved in the process. You can't just step back and then depend on your broker to kind of fix the deals, right? And it leads into a very angry case if you back out. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was doing the lease and the realtor was the owner.
Oh,
And then she was saying, no, I'm not gonna go with the young people. And I said, can you just interview them? And
Yeah.
she accepted it. So when we went to the office and we sat there, it was so interesting. The first thing she said, you know, she started talking very high
yeah.
about me to my clients.
Yeah, because you were communicating.
That this is because of her, because the way that she's just doing this business, I was like, okay.
Exactly.
That was the first time I was seeing that.
And it's so simple, right? Like you're like, oh, all I did was call you and email you. Like it's really all it takes is a little bit of communication and you looked like a rock star because it's such a bad habit of a lot of realtors. If you are a little bit better at communicating than anyone, you're going to do well. I remember even, and they got the place, right? Being a nice agent, and we say that all the time, be nice to the other agent. We don't need to like be against each other. We are together. We are working together to close a transaction for the buyer and the seller. That's what we do. I remember like my hardest deal was just a few years ago, and the buyers bought high, sold low because they waited a little too long. And we could not, there was extension after extension. And like we were all hands on deck trying to find financing for the sellers and then find financing for the buyers. But not once did I not pick up my phone. I had to call this agent every week, and my poor clients were all stressed out because the other side wasn't answering. But they loved my service because I was always trying to get things done. So even when things go bad, you're going to actually shine when you're in high communication and always communicating. But the worst is when you're like, I actually don't know, the other agent didn't pick up. That looks bad for the whole process. So definitely be proactive, stay professional. If things get heated, don't yell back. We gotta keep calm and responding timely. I also like to say keep your clients out of it. There's a lot of things that happen, and I learned this early on in my career too. I would relay what the seller or what the agent said to me, and it would almost like heat up my clients. And then we were all of a sudden we're fighting. So I'd be like, oh, the seller said our offer's too low and it's insulting. And then all of a sudden the buyer's like, well, screw them, like blah, blah, blah. And then it gets everyone heated. Don't repeat every single thing the other agent is saying. I even had a status certificate last week where property management wasn't getting back to us. I didn't even let my clients know what was happening. I kept them completely out of the dark. If it doesn't affect them, I was trying to find, I don't know, finances from the property management to get it over to the buyer side. And all my updates were to my seller was, yep, things are going smoothly. We're working on a few things with the status certificate. We actually might just need a couple of days of an extension because the lawyer went on vacation and we just need a couple of days. No problem. But if you were like talking actually what was going on, the seller's probably like, screw that, no extension, we're done. So you gotta keep the calm as well for your clients and keep them out of some certain conversations that you're having with the other side, right? So that way it feels smooth to them. It doesn't feel rocky. We want to keep it feeling good. Every interaction with another agent reflects your professionalism and can lead to future referrals. I'm sure you guys have had really bad experiences with agents. I've had agents sometimes where I'm like, I actually never want to work with that agent ever again because they were so bad to talk to. And it will reflect. I see a couple of nods. You'll see an agent that you had a bad experience with, and it can deter people coming to your listings and bringing in offers because you're like, I don't ever want to work with that agent ever again. Like they're slimy. So that's why it's important to keep your reputation pretty good throughout this process as well. This adds on to another referral. If you guys ever receive a referral from an agent as well, from maybe another province, somewhere outside, even keeping them in the loop, what's going on. Hey, just had a conversation. Hey, just took those clients out for showings. Hey, we just got an accepted offer, blah, blah, blah. So if you get a referral, keep those guys in the loop on what's going on as well. And that's going to increase your chances of getting another referral from them as well. Yeah.
But if this communication with other realtors is concerned, many times realtors, they don't give their cell number. They just give
They don't give their cell number. Yeah.
become is a problem, especially for leases. So there,
Yep.
somebody is opening the door.
But you see how easy it is? All they had to do was give their cell number, text you back, email you back, and you would be happy, right? But just because they don't give their cell number, they don't respond, now you got this nasty experience. He could be the nicest agent ever on the other side, and now all of a sudden you got this nasty like thought of him because he didn't pick up his phone, right? So it is a personal thing. I know back in the day they did not give out their cell numbers. It was you call the office. I don't even think Claire Nelson still give out their phone numbers. Yeah, they're like, there's too much. As an agent, if you have a listing, I do think it's important to have your cell number there. And then even at the bottom of my broker remarks, I will say text this number for quicker responses, just to let them know, like, hey, if you do need to reach out to me, I'll pick up a lot quicker if you text me, and then I'll call you as well. But sometimes they'll call you in the middle of something and never even leave you a voice note. So even if you're calling an agent and they don't respond, follow up with a text, follow up with an email, be like, hey, I called you regarding this. So like just keep that communication open. Don't be the guys that don't pick up. So hopefully this is the lesson of today. Don't be that guy because we've all experienced it. Perfect. So that was our recap on how to keep clients happy. And honestly, I think it's a pretty easy way to keep them happy. All you have to do is be accessible by phone and just keep in the communication. That's it. Like you don't have to do, like you have to be smart and all that, obviously, but you guys can be the dumbest agent. And if you can just pick up your phone and text them, you'll do like very well in this business. People like to have all of these different things, communication plans, weekly check-ins, vendor referrals. These are very simple things to keep those clients happy so you guys can get some more referrals. So as an action item, what I want you guys to do is audit your communication flow. Are you missing anything? Can you add some templates? Can we be better at our communication and asking our clients how they prefer to be communicated with? Do you have a weekly day where you check in with clients? Do you have a follow-up plan? If you do not, use this week to build or update your referral list. So if you don't have a home inspector at the tip of your tongue or a lawyer, like a selection of lawyers, if you don't have plumbers, electricians, this is a really good time to kind of think back. And I would even go back to your own clients. Be like, oh, did I have any electricians in my client base? Like, do your clients run businesses or any services as well that you can now repay them to give them business? So come up with a list that you guys can use. If you're really advanced, do maybe 2 check-in templates that you can start and list 3 post-close touch points that you can start to implement today. So go back to all your past clients. Have you said happy anniversary? Have you checked in with them? Did anyone buy in the last 6 months that you haven't checked in with? So come up with some touch points. Next week, we will actually be going through those touch points on how you guys can actually get referrals from your past clients in Sphere. So I'm going to be talking about a touch point system through text, gifts, invites, check-ins. For all my social media people, we're going to go over a social media strategy for your sphere of influence. We'll talk a little bit about client events and community building. So if any of you guys are into farming and all that stuff like that, or you're thinking about how you can get face-to-face with your clients, we'll talk about how you can run a client event, some referral scripts, and then some monthly and quarterly plans. Does anyone have questions? Let's see. Going online. Lack of communication, yep. Perfect. So we had more online people today. But yeah, so next week we'll have a good one. Did you have anything? So Steve and I were talking about this. I think the best way to get a price reduction is to set the expectations up front. So if you are taking an overpriced listing, you may just say, yep, we'll try your price, but I'm only giving it a week or I'm only giving it 10 days. If we don't get the results, we're going to have a conversation about a price reduction. But I've found like in the last few months, if you guys are communicating with your clients weekly or on a very consistent basis, saying, hey, your neighbor sold for this. Hey, this is what's happening here. This guy listed. But if you're consistently pushing out what is selling, eventually your clients are going to come to you if they're motivated. If they're not a motivated client, but if they actually do need to sell, they're going to come to you and say, hey, actually, should we drop the price? And I'm getting that more where the clients are actually saying, should we do it? And they may even think that they're in charge of what's going on with the price reductions. But I'm finding that a lot of clients are doing that now. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that. If you're giving them enough updates, they're going to say, I think it's time to reduce the price. Or they'll ask you, should I reduce the price? But yeah.
Seller said Sandeep, nothing is selling in front. Reduce the price. We talk.
And they said, yeah, like you have a conversation at the beginning, be like, hey, this is what's going on in the market. This is a little bit high, but we'll try it out. But this is what's going on. Then your sellers, if they're motivated, we've had an unmotivated seller that says, nope, I want to leave it at this price, even though it's been on the market for 80 days, because they were only selling if they got their price, which is red flags altogether. But if you've got a client that genuinely, maybe they bought something already, they're actually trying to go move somewhere else. My case, I had an investor that bought 12 years ago, so they were making money, not as much as they wanted, but if they have an actual motivation, they're going to drop the price because they want to sell. What's this? And very inconvenient when agents don't provide their mobile numbers. Realtor track. Oh, so we've got, is it called Realtor track? List track. Sorry, it's called List track on Realm. If you go to List track, it's an app on one of the sides in the waffle, but it will actually tell you guys what websites the clients are going to, how many views, how many hits, how many favorited, how many forwarded. So it's a really good market report to send to your clients to at least show. We also just learned that you can actually edit it because your competitor websites may pop up on there and you don't want to see that. There's an edit tool that you can actually kind of get rid of some websites if it's your competitive brokerage, which is a really good hack. There's an app. Oh yeah, Realtor.ca, you can log in and then it'll show you your listings that you have and then you can whip up a report that way. So these are just really mostly tools for you guys to communicate with your clients, to give them positive or negative feedback. But again, they're going to read it, be like, great, thanks. So they want to see effort. They want to see proactiveness. They don't want to hear nothing from you. So that even if it's bad news, it's news. So that's all they really want. Perfect. I think that's it. Okay, we're gonna log off and then my in-person people will be here. So if you guys didn't watch the last 2 weeks, they are on YouTube. You can watch weeks 1 and 2. And then next week, we're gonna be talking about having like a 12-month touch point system that you can put into play. And then hopefully 2026 will be nice and organized for referrals. So we'll catch up very soon.